The PostalMate webinar, DHL Changes in PostalMate. My name is Karen Grant, and I'm here today with Riley Grady from DHL. Welcome, Riley.
Thank you, Karen. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So Riley works in the DHL support office, and they support exclusively DASC providers. So he's gonna tell us more about his office and his people and how to get a hold of their team as we move forward. But first, we're going to get started in the changes coming on. So bear with me while I try to figure out how to change the the blah, 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 blah that I'm not able to do. Okay, here we go. There we go. I think I did it. Okay. Getting started. What happened in version 11.7.3 and the next one, 11.7.4, we changed from the old DHL API, which we had written code to a number of years ago, to the new API. And Riley is going to tell us a little about how that came about.
Yeah, so DHL, periodically, we change our API to enhance and offer a better service to our customers and those who are using the interface. So we went to PostalMate and asked them if they would be willing to move over to the new API to, again, offer a better experience to our customers who are using point of sale systems. And so PC Synergy and PostalMate was very happy to make some updates. And so these are the changes that were made, and we hope that it offers a better experience for all of you.
Thanks. And what is an API? API is an application programming interface. So it's basically the module on their end that third-party companies like us can write programming code to talk to. And so that's how we talk to DHL and the other carriers, and that's how we're able to communicate. So the new API by DHL has a lot more enhancements, but it is a learning process, and we're learning with it, and so is the DASC team learning about the new API because they don't have anybody else on their specific team that uses this API. So things have changed, and I'm sorry that there's a few bumps and hiccups as we move forward, but when it smooths out, it's going to be so much better than the old API. So we know we did the right thing. We just have to suffer through the little bit of a bumpy road here. So in this, you're able to set up a DHL pickup, and that's done in your carrier setup. Now you have to enable it, and you can see on the screen, it's over to the right, and you have a ready time and a close time. And the close time is when your store closes, and the ready time is when the packages would be ready, or your cutoff time, no later than your cutoff time. So I have one person saying that they don't have sound, but since everybody else could hear me earlier, I'm assuming that it is only that person. Okay. Yes. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. I hope that's what I meant. Yes, I can't hear you. So hopefully we got that. All right. So Riley, tell us how a store would find out what their cutoff time is, and what a cutoff time is.
Good. So a cutoff time is the latest time that DHL can pick up your package. A couple ways that you can find out your cutoff time is one, by calling our customer service team. Our customer service team answers calls within 10 seconds, so you won't be waiting on the phone. That phone number is 800-CALL-DHL or 800-225-5345. And simply ask them your cutoff time and give them your either account number or the postal code of your store. Alternatively, you can always call the support team, my team, which the phone number will be later on. We can give you your cutoff time. And then when you do start with us, we do provide you your latest cutoff time. One thing to note, you want to book your pickup at least an hour before the cutoff time to allow a driver to be dispatched to your location. Those are a couple ways that you can get your cutoff time.
Okay, so are you saying that their ready time, if their cutoff time was 3 p.m., they should book this for 2 p.m.?
To have 100% pickup rate, yes. The closer you get to the latest pickup time, the more likely that we may miss the pickup, and we don't ever want that to happen.
Okay, so make sure that you, as Riley said, set your ready by time at least an hour earlier than your actual cutoff time. And I'm just going to tell you, as a former store owner, your close time, always set that for at least 15 minutes before your real close time, because there's traffic and there's accidents and drivers run late, and none of us like waiting after work for a driver. So that's always just a good idea. While we're on this screen, I want you to notice in the lower left, the wholesale rates. For DHL rate program, there's a new level 4, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So about the rates, you need to get the best rates, and then you can give the best rates. And the DHL team did something really new this year, and that's never been done by a carrier before. And I want to commend, before we get to that data, I want to commend DHL, because DHL is the carrier that really, they make a strong effort to be represented in your stores and give you the best rates. Those of you who ship DHL know that 98+% of the time, the other carriers can't even come close to the rates that they offer you. And they work hard to get you those rates. So I want Riley to tell us on the next screen here about a new program that DHL has introduced.
Yeah, so this is very, very exciting. As Karen mentioned, we're the first carrier to join the Premier Supplier program with RSA. And so with this, you have an opportunity as a Premier supplier with RSA that you can have access to an additional tier in our rating structure. So there are 2 ways you can join this tier, one of which is shipping $1,500 a month with DHL. But if you are as a Premier member with RSA, you will have access to these rates at a $300 average monthly revenue with DHL. So it's a great program. We're trying to allow your business to offer our international service at a competitive rate. And this was feedback from our stores, and we are really excited to offer this to you.
Okay, so for clarification, if you are a premium member of RS Associates, then you only need to do a volume of $300 a month or more. And that $300 a month, Riley, is that the published rate, or is that the wholesale rate?
So that's going to be the billed rate for your account, your freight charges. And someone did ask the question. So yeah, so if you are a premium member, the average revenue spend is $300, and then if not, you can have access to the rates at a $1,500 a month spend. So it's a great thing. We're very excited to partner with RSA on, and we hope that the feedback is well received from stores.
So obviously, for any of those of you who ship a fair number of DHL or plan on increasing your DHL or international shipping, if you are not a premium member of RS, that would be the place you would want to do that right away and get these rates. Why not? And you know, I'm a proponent of anything that helps your business, and RS has a lot to offer, not just this, and I want you to look at all of it, but super excited. So this new tier is supported in PostalMate. You do have to be on version 11.7.3 or 4 or higher, because we'll have updates coming up. And it is a new tier level called Tier 4. And just to give you an idea, those discounts range, the lowest discount is 63% off published price. The highest discount, I think, is 83% off published price. 83, guys. Now, it's not going to be on everything, but if you get 83% off an international shipment and it's, you know, 5 pounds, that's a chunk of change. So
yeah, there are some other additional changes in the pricing. So as some of you may be aware, at the 1 pound rate for documents, it used to increase, the rate would increase. Now that 1 pound rate is matching the envelope rate across all zones. and some more aggressive pricing to Latin America and to the Middle East. We know that that was a big ask from the stores is, can you help with some of the expensive pricing to the Middle East so that my customers don't say that this is too expensive? So we've reduced that rate a little bit, which should allow you to close some of those shipments and keep the customers in the store.
So we would encourage you to, of course, get a hold of RS if you're not a premium supplier. If you are a premium supplier and you want to give them a call, fine. But if you qualify by your volume of 300 or more a month, you can go ahead and just select Tier 4 in PostalMate. It's already supported. And in fact, if you qualify, you are already getting those discounts regardless of how you've set PostalMate. That's already attached to your billing. So yay, DHL. All right. So pricing strategies. And I know you all like talking money, but we've invited Riley here to talk about DHL. And I know I need to do a webinar about how to price international shipping. So I'm going to do a full webinar later this summer on pricing international shipping for profit. And so just know that that's going to be coming up soon. But one thing I did want you to be aware of pricing with DHL is that PostalMate will never match the website. And that's because the website for DHL offers a 20% discount from the DHL service guide. You get a 60, 63 or better if you're a Tier 4 discount currently from the service guide, which is what we call published rates. So the DHL website is not published rates. It's 20% less than published rates, to the penny, by the way. I actually confirmed that. All right. We're going to move on to some concerns or issues you have while actually processing packages, because what good are all these great rates if you can't get the package to go through, right? And we know that that's been a little bit of a bump lately. Some things have been a bump all along just because international addressing is difficult. So I'm going to start with entering the return address. So that's the customer that's standing in front of you. And you do need to have that customer's information entered in order to process, and that person has to be a US address. So a foreign address will not work. So even if he's from Canada and shipping to Canada, he has to provide a US address. Now, the question comes up, well, I'm getting an error, and there is an error, and it used to be, it was one code with the old API, and we're trying to learn the new codes for the new API. And I'm going to share some documentation with you today to help you with that. But the zip code of your customer has to be in an area that is serviced by DHL. Well, if you live in Montana, parts of Wyoming, parts of Idaho, parts of Texas, parts of middle of the country rural area, your store might be serviced, but your store zip code, in fact, your store might be the only DHL point of service within 200 miles. That's entirely possible. So all your people that live in neighboring zip codes, if they put their return address with their zip code, it will fail because DHL could not return the package. I'm going to say this advice for DHL only. So if you know you're going to ship at DHL, or you strongly suspect you're going to ship it from ship at DHL, you can use your store as the return address. Still use your customer's name, please. So enter it as a new customer. So Jane Smith, and then 234 East Main Street, Suite, 13, and then your city and state in the middle of nowhere, wherever you are. Because DHL does bill duties and taxes a little different than the other carriers, they will not go after your store if the recipient doesn't pay. So using your store is not a risk with DHL like it is with other carriers. So you will frequently hear us in PostalMate support say, don't use your store as the return address. In general, that's true. With DHL, we're going to give that as an exception, that it's okay to do that in this case. Also, oftentimes that customer that lives nearby has a friend or relative that does live in town or in your zip code, that they could use that as the return address if you would like, and if you're a little leery, if you will, of using your store as the return address. So make sure that that return address is good. And then when you're entering the address to where it's going, sometimes the Google Maps feature in PostalMate is a great opportunity to help. Most of us are not geography experts. And I'm going to give on the next screen, and we're going to give a whole bunch of helps. But this one was one actually I saw it go through, have issues this week. And sometimes just using Google Maps, making sure you have the correct spelling of the city name, or that particular city. I mean, I know London is in England or in the UK. I get that. But there are some names that have really strange spellings. If you've ever looked for a town in Wales, everything is strange. It's like a whole different planet. And any foreign place that you're just not familiar with, the names, you're not probably familiar with it. You need to look it up. So Google Maps is your friend here. But DHL actually has a better friend, and that's called the DHL capability tool. And this should be bookmarked on every one of your computers, front and center. So I want you to look, and I'm going to let Riley explain a little bit about this, but this is how you figure out, or it helps to figure out how things have to be on your address where it's going. So this customer was sending to Guatemala City in Guatemala. And so you know that Guatemala City is the correct name. You get that, or Guatemala, you get that. You wiki it, and wiki says, yes, that's the city and everything. So you're scratching your head. Well, sometimes DHL needs something a little more specific. The zone, the borough, the district, maybe a suburb name, and so on and so forth. And that will show up in the DCT. Riley, tell us more about the DCT.
Yeah, this is a great tool. I highly encourage everybody after the webinar to go and play around with it. It just a couple minutes. It is mobile friendly as well. So if you have a tablet or a phone in your store, you can save it on there as a bookmark as well. It's totally customer facing. So if you have additional computers in your store, it will not show any rates. It's totally a transit time only tool. So if you do want to allow a customer to look it up on a phone or a tablet or your computer in the store, that is safe. They won't see any rates. But the tool is built to guess where you're trying to ship to. So you type in the country, and then you start to type slowly either the postal code or the city name, and our system will try to guess where it's going. The reason that this tool is helpful is because we require the information to be correct prior to printing the label. It's how we're able to ship anywhere in the world in 3 days, the accuracy of the information. So in some countries such as Canada, where there's letters and numbers in the postal code, this will help you accurately determine what the postal code or the city name looks like and how it's spelled, and then you can enter it in to PostalMate. So if you enter in the ship from and the ship to address and it populates in this tool, then you can be confident that DHL will deliver the package. Entering in the information, and we'll be able to get it there in the transit time determined there.
Very good. Thank you, Riley. So in PostalMate, when you're entering an address for international, I do want to caution you, address line 1 needs to be, if somebody was going to walk there, this needs to be the address they would walk to. In other words, it needs to be usually have a building number, but not always, and a street name, but not always, but not any other descriptions, not a post office box. It needs to be the physical location. Address line 2 is for additional information. And that additional information could be a post office box, because they do cross-reference in some countries. But but address line 2 often is where you're going to put, for example, for Guatemala, Zona 01. That's probably where you would put Zona 01. The biggest offender of this is San Salvador, El Salvador. We find that we have to put San Salvador both as a city name and as address line 2. On there to get it to go through. It's a real pickle getting that one to go through. Some of these really stink. And we sometimes don't know, and there is really no way to know exactly how DHL wants it, whether this name is going to be in address line 2 or in the suburb area or where it's going to be. So we kind of have to guess with you. If you just try different things though, you usually can figure it out.
One more thing to add, we did launch a new service last year, on-demand delivery, and we added all of our authorized shipping centers onto this service. What it is it's a platform that sends an email or a text message to the receiver in the country explaining that a shipment is on the way. For no charge, that individual can click on the link and change an address or select a delivery window. So that gives you confidence that if you do miss an address by a couple digits on Main Street, or barely, or the shipper actually gives you the wrong information, that receiver on the other end in over 160 countries can change the address for no charge. The most important thing for you to do is add in a mobile phone number or an email for the receiver, and that service is activated and completely free.
And how do they get that?
Just having an account with us.
Okay.
DHL, my team, activates that for you. And so really for that to work, we just need a mobile phone number or an email address for the receiver, and that notification will be sent to them.
Okay. And so what is that service called again?
On-demand delivery. And if anybody needs more information or wants a sign to put up in their store so that you can sell DHL and the service that comes with, you can reach out to us and we'd be happy to support you there.
Okay, I had never heard of that. So that's a great new feature. I'm going to learn more about that. Okay. So some other new things in PostalMate is a new message that pops up with, it's a little bit different. It's going to look similar, but it's a little different, trust me. When a package might need an EEI. An EEI, it used to be called an SED, stupid extra document, but an EEI is electronic export information, and it's a filing with the United States Census Bureau. And it's for any package with a commodity value of $2,500 or higher, or a package of any value to severely restricted countries. So the $2,500 one is usually the one that you will run into. And so PostalMate can't tell a commodity, and a commodity is a single item or any group of like items. So if you had a laptop in a box, that's a single commodity. If you had 10 leather coats, some children, some men, some women, some short, some long, those are all one commodity because they're all leather coats. So that's how you kind of figure it out. So if the value is over $2,500, actually $2,500 or more, then an EEI may be required. An EEI is not a piece of paper or a form we can just plug into PostMate and have you fill out and attach with it, unfortunately. An EEI is actually a filing with the Census Bureau. And so you have two options on this. One, you can learn how to do an EEI. Believe me, it's unless you really like government red tape, it's not something you're going to want to do. We do have some stores that do it, but it's because they do an average of 10 to 15 international packages a day. So if you're not in that group, then you're going to probably want DHL to do it for you. And DHL will do it for you. You need to call them and they charge a very small fee. Riley?
Yeah, so for $15, DHL will file the EEI for the shipper. The information that you'll need to have is an EIN number for the shipper. That can be obtained in a couple minutes on the census.gov website. You enter in and it emails you an EIN number, the individual. The government will no longer accept Social Security numbers for EEI filing, but do make sure that you charge $15 to the customer, and then you write on the airway bill that you would like DHL to be the filing agent. Give us the EIN number, and then we'll process that. Now, if it is not completed, then there is about a 24-hour delay at our hub before exporting the country. So there is a chance that we'll still file that on your behalf, but best practice is to get that information ahead of time.
And I know most of you don't ship $2,500 packages all the time international. So chances are this is not going to come up until 6 months from now when you've forgotten just about everything you're listening to right now. So if you need that information again, when you see that come up and you're going to get this message, call the DHL DASC support center and say, I might need an EEI. Help me to understand if I do, and then help me understand the procedures again for what to do. And they will go through that again with you. Okay, and $15 is easy peasy. No, PostalMate's not going to charge it automatically. That's not built in. You'll have to do that, add that in the POS, in your POS. So, but here's what I wanted to share with you. We've made a change in how an EEI works, or an EEI error message, if you will. It's not an error, it's a warning message, pops up. For only DHL, and this is an exclusive at this time because of how DHL processes, this pop-up warning will come up when your value is $2,500 or higher, but you can click OK and continue the shipment. And you will get a label and commercial invoice. You still need to see if that needs an EEI and do all the procedures that Riley just mentioned. But unlike other carriers, we will allow this to go through. DHL will accept it and give you a label and a commercial invoice, even though it may need an EEI. Please don't ship it without an EEI if it requires one, because like he said, it's just going to get delayed and that's not going to serve your customer well. So always double check if that value is $2,500 or more. Okay, whew, tired of saying EEI. Moving on, you need to know how to get a hold of us and what to get a hold of us for. So PostalMate, obviously, most error messages, you can call us and we'll try to figure it out with you. Like I said, we're still learning with the new API. It's a whole different, all the words are different, all the numbers, error number codes are different. There's not a magic list that tells us what to do when there's certain things that we got from DHL, because their web services department are run by developers and developers don't speak English. They don't even speak human. So we're trying to figure it out with you. But having said that, on your webinar pane, if you look under handouts, there's a magic little handout I have provided for you. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But it's a DHL error code cheat sheet, and you can click on it. It's a PDF, and it will print out for you, or go to your desktop and you can print it out. And if you're watching this as a recorded webinar, you can contact our support team and ask for the 2019 DHL error code cheat sheet, and they'll get that to you. So any kind of issues with the customs forms, setup, label printing, that's a PostalMate thing. For DHL support,
yeah, as I mentioned, we always have our customer service staff that can answer your phone calls within 10 seconds and answer all of your international inquiries. But I do manage a team of 6 individuals that are certified international specialists, and they are built to support our authorized shipping centers. So they solely are there for authorized shipping centers and retail outlets for DHL. And we're there to service you, whether it be some advertising that you may need, digital advertising for online, answering any questions, do maybe some sort of training, a webinar on a country. Maybe you're having challenges with Mexico, and we can provide you with training materials for you and your staff to help allow you to offer DHL and ship internationally more successfly. The phone numbers are right there. I always encourage, if you can't get a hold of us via phone, to send a quick note to dasc@dhl.com. That goes to me and my whole team. And you can simply write in there, please help, I need a call ASAP. And someone will reach out to you, very quickly that way as well.
and I'm sure Riley's team works the same as our team. If you give us information about what the issue is, you usually get quicker help. His team of 6 people, I almost guarantee that there's a couple of his people that are better at South America issues. There's some of his people that are better at European issues. Some of his people are better at Asian issues, because their countries kind of group together like that and have different requirements and different addressing things. We work the same here in PostalMate. We have our PostalMate team. Some people are better at printer issues. Some people are better at international. Some are better at pricing. So giving us that information helps us to get you the answers better from a person who's going to be able to assist you. We're all cross-trained, so we can all do it, but sometimes you have a really sticking issue and you need somebody who really knows their stuff. All right, so I know that there have been some concerns or some issues with the current update. So let me tell you a little bit about some upcoming things. There will be a new update, and it will have some improvements to the DHL changes that we made, and it will have some USPS changes. And so I don't have a particular date that this is going to be released, but the post office changes are June 23rd, so it will obviously be on or before June 23rd, probably a few days before. That's how we usually try to work. In PostalMate, and we're going to go to PostalMate in a minute, when you set up the pickup, and I know this is really odd to put it here when I talked about it earlier, but there is a reason, believe me. When you set up the automatic pickup, you're going to get some pop-up messages. So when you process the first shipment that's going to trigger that pickup, you're going to get a message like in the upper left, and then it's going to say your pickup request has been successful, your confirmation number is. We all know that you're rushing to get through all the little pop-up screens so you can ring up your customer, and you don't have time to stand and read this. So just click OK. If you need to ever check and see if you have a pickup request on or pending, you can just go to your carrier pickup for the day and it will show there. And PostalMate knows that your first package of the day, whether it be a drop-off or a package you've tendered, will create the pickup for the day. And then if you cancel that individual package, it will cancel the pickup. But if you've done more than one DHL and you cancel one of those, it will not cancel the pickup. So it's smart enough to know that you have others that still need that pickup, so it won't cancel the one that actually initiated it. So you are good to go. If you ever need to initiate a pickup or cancel a pickup manually, you can do that if you look at the middle screen from File, Carrier Activities, and you have the option to both initiate and cancel a pickup request. When there is a failure of the pickup request, which happens currently at 2 times right now, a failure does occur if there's an internet glitch or something with the timing that didn't go through right, and you'll get a little warning on there. You should be able to cancel out of that warning by coming in here and cancel pickup request. If that doesn't work, please call our support team. That should do it. They'll try the same thing. But if there's something else going on, we need to know about it. The other time that that little warning comes up is on Fridays. We sent you this email a week ago, letting you know that there is a known issue on Fridays regarding the automatic pickup. And so this warning will come up on your screen. It will be corrected in the next update, which is the post office update. So within 2 weeks. But this is letting you know that if you have this, get this warning, you'll need on a Friday, you will need to call DHL or make other arrangements with DHL to get that pickup, that the pickup failed in PostalMate. All right, so here's that cheat sheet. So again, if you have not clicked that, it's on the handouts part of your webinar pane, and you can click that. And this goes through some of the more common errors and what we've kind of figured out. So right now, the most common error, well, I shouldn't say the most common error. The only error that's habitual that we haven't quite figured out is the what we'll call 156 error. I think 157 is also related to it. And it has to do with the value of declared value. And there's a lot of things going on in the background. We initiated paperless commercial invoices for the first time with the new API. That does not at this time replace your commercial invoices. So you'll still print it out and do the same thing as normal. But we're working towards the goal of offering paperless invoices whenever it's available to you. What the hiccup we think is, and we're still working on this, is that there's a value limit on that, and that's what's causing the issue. So we'll get it figured out. Hopefully we'll have that error worked out before the next update so it can be included in the next update. All the other errors on this page are errors that are fairly common, but now I've given you the words and the new codes that are associated with them and kind of what to do. The most common one is the global mask error. Excuse me, getting a frog. Global mask error is when the format of your postal code does not match the format of DHL's postal code. And so what I need to explain is a postal code, and I'm just going to give you the one I use frequently, SW1W8EA is a postal code in London, England. And the other carriers accept it written as that. DHL will only accept it if the space is in the proper place, and there is a space in that. So with the other carriers, you can slam all those letter and numbers together and it goes through just fine. But with DHL, they actually need that space. And in fact, there's probably 100 countries that have either a space or a dash that is required for DHL. So if you get a global mask error, you immediately need to ask your customer, is there a space or a dash somewhere in this postal code? And if so, do you know where? And if not, Google is your friend. Google will help you figure that out. So that is the absolutely most common error with that. Other errors are listed here. Make sure that when you're entering international addresses, you do not include any special characters. So if there's a tilde or an accent or anything like that, I know your keyboard's magic. I know you can hit 15 buttons at once and do the dance, the twister dance with your fingers and make that accent happen. Don't do it. DHL computers here are US computers. They read American English. It will reject it and not create the label. So, Riley, you want to add anything to this?
No, I mean, I think the most common errors, as you mentioned, 156 global mask, and then the return address postal code is really common. So changing that to your store postal code if somebody isn't from town and they drove all the way to your store, I think those are the three common issues.
A lot of times, by the way, we do get this frequently. The customer says, well, they don't use postal codes there. They don't have, no, let me rephrase that. They don't have postal codes here. So let me just share with you, 85% of the world, maybe 90% of the world has postal codes, but it is true that only maybe 60% or so use postal codes. So it may have a postal code and them not be aware of it. But also it could be that just because an error comes back and mentions the postal code, it doesn't necessarily mean that postal code is wrong. Often what it's saying is the postal code and the name that you have entered in city don't match in the DHL database. So it could be, I have no idea, it could be Guatemala and a postal code, and it needs to say Guatemala City and a postal code. It's something as simple as that. So you need to look at the whole thing. Don't just assume just because it mentions postal code that the postal code is what's wrong. It's saying that the postal code is not matching, not that the postal code is wrong. So
on that, if somebody does state that the country does not have postal codes, the capability tool, as we mentioned before, dct.dhl.com, will gray out the postal code section, and then you can confirm that there's no postal code there. For instance, if you want to try after the webinar, Hong Kong does not have postal codes. So when you type in Hong Kong, that grayed out postal code section, you can be confident that they do not have postal codes in that country or territory.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to go to PostalMate. Oh, and by the way, if any of you have PostalMate on your screen, and look how big my screen and how tiny PostalMate is, we can change that. So I'm going to do that real quick to make sure that you're aware of it. We want PostalMate to be really big. And Riley's going to see it get really big. I tell you, I would log on to computers to help stores out, and they have PostalMate so tiny I can barely see it with my old age eyes. There we go. Okay, now you can see better what I do. So a couple of things I wanted to show you in the setup here. Under Tools, PostalMate Settings, over here to Carrier Setup. And this is where DHL is, and this is where you enable the pickup request. And so again, if your cutoff time is 3 p.m., you'll want to set this to 2 p.m. And in fact, I would set it to 1:50, but right in that time. So you want to be at least an hour before your cutoff time for ready time. And your close time, if you close at 6 o'clock, I would, I would do, 6:45, 5:45, there we go. That way I wouldn't be held after late. And then for your DHL rate program, if you know that you already are qualifying for that tier level 4 with RS Associates, it's right here. And you just drop that down and select it. And you see some other tiers here you also aren't familiar with, level 1 and level 0. We're not going to talk about those today because they don't apply today. But 0, 2, or level 2, 3, and 4 do apply today. So you'll just want to click level 4 and click apply. And that will set your wholesale rates up for DHL. Now, it will not change your retail rates, what you're charging your customer. It will only change your wholesale. So if you want to reapply your margins to this, you can. Again, we're going to have a webinar this summer on making profits with international shipping. I'll title it something clever, and we will get into the nitty gritty on how you can, my goal is how you can match the DHL website, be slightly above the DHL website, or be slightly below the DHL website without leaving money on the table. So that will give you a leg up on competitors and on people getting accounts or just using the website. So additionally, once you get this all enabled and you save that, if you go to do a carrier pickup for the day, let's see here. I think I have this set up. So there's the pickup request. So you'll see it over to the right for DHL. And then once again, to initiate that manually, you'll go into File, Carrier Activities, and I could cancel the pickup request. In fact, why don't I go ahead and do that? Okay, and now that's canceled, and let's see if it made a liar out of me. I'll do the carrier pickup. Oops, yeah, it got mad at me. All right. Open, okay, it made a liar out of me. I created this yesterday, so I cheated on it a little bit. Apologize for that. Okay, I'm just really quickly going to do a shipment DHL, and then we're going to get back to questions and answers. So if you've got questions and answers, now would be a great time to enter that information in, and I know a lot of you do. We won't be able to get to all of the questions, but just so I use this address a lot, but again, I want to point out here, see the space that we have here? It's going to be required by DHL. If I were to smush this all together, I would get an error. I promise I would get an error. So that would be bad. And then you can use Google Maps to look up an address. Now, I will tell you, Google is not 100% in third world countries. They're just not. So it found the address. But it does help you, yeah. They want you to make sure, yep, you can push through all those messages. Just because a warning code pops up, don't think that you cannot push through things. So it's actually updating commits for zip code. And guys, I'm on the test servers. I'm not on a production line like you are. So I could get some wonky things here. So I'll apologize ahead of time for that. If I have any hiccups here, like internet. Yeah, internet. Okay. Yeah, come on. Only in a live webinar do things like this happen, folks. Fine, I am convinced my test environment is bad here. So I'm going to minimize PostalMate, and I'm going to go back, and we're going to go to, yeah, told you there were going to be hiccups. Couldn't have everything perfect. There we go, Q&A. All right, guys, now's the time for Q&A. Riley's here. Get him while he's hot. We'll put him on the spot. I'm going to go through and I'll answer the ones I can, and we'll let Riley answer the strongly DHL specific ones. I do know, can we pay DHL for EEI help? If they do the EEI filing for you, it'll just be on your bill. You'll just see $15 on your bill. Okay. So let's see. That DASC site, like I said, DCT site. And by the way, you can always, if you just forgot it, it's on the handout I gave you. If you print that handout, but you can just Google DHL DCT and it will pop up, and just bookmark that puppy, because when you call our support team at PostalMate, that's the site we use to help you figure things out. So you could be one step ahead of that phone call and try that on your own. And Riley, can you provide a list with reps that help in your specific region? Do you have all the regions memorized? Putting them on the spot here.
No, our reps are divided by station. So if you simply send an email to dasc@dhl.com, the appropriate person will reach out to you, and then you'll have that contact information. But they are broken by postal code, and I think we have, I don't know, 35,000 or something crazy in the U.S.
And notice he always says postal code instead of zip code, because he is an international guy. So they do, yeah. I just call the DHL center. They're very quick in answering and very helpful. And they really try hard. And they, if there's something that they haven't quite figured out that's specific to PostalMate, they will email us or our support team and say, hey, I have a PostalMate customer and they were doing this and I don't quite understand blah. And we help out that direction as well. Where can I download the handout? On your webinar pane, there's a handout area. And it should be in blue. It's the link says 2019 DHL error code cheat sheet.pdf. So click on that and that should pop up. If you don't have an Adobe Reader on your computer, you may not be able to get it. So you can email support@pcsynergy.com and ask for the DHL error code cheat sheet and they will send it to you. Okay, let's see. What would be the best way to explain an EEI requirement to the customer for DHL? And I would say, just tell them it's a government requirement for any package that has a commodity value of over $2,500. And in all honesty, it's the government kind of tracking high dollar items. And it is literally just, I'm just telling you from my perspective, bureaucratic red tape that doesn't serve any purpose anymore. I think initially it was to evaluate exporting through the common carriers to kind of get a gauge. Well, that's been almost 20 years ago. And they set it at $2,500 20 years ago because $2,500 was a pretty big value shipment. Well, 20 years later, $2,500 is a fairly common shipment. Isn't that big a deal anymore? I'm not sure it's giving them the same information that they wanted in the first place. So I think it needs to be updated and changed or eliminated. But for what it's worth, Canada has a similar type thing. So I don't think it's unique to the United States. Mentioned changing your wholesale rates will not affect your retail rates. That is correct, no matter what. If you change your wholesale rates, it does not change your retail rates. So if you change tier levels, it does not affect. We don't automatically change your retail rates. You are the only one in control of changing your retail rates. So if your margin was 55% above wholesale before, and you changed your wholesale rate, well, it's going to now be, 52% or 57% or wherever, whether the wholesales went up or down. So you're going to need to reapply those margins. Again, we will talk about more about that in summer. And some of you have some really long questions, so bear with me just a moment while we read some of these. We recently tried shipping a drone, but it came back. How come? Because we can take it with us on the plane, but we can't ship it. Well, welcome to the shipping world. That happens a lot, actually. A lot of governments don't allow certain surveillance type equipment to be shipped. So that could include certain cameras, types of cameras. Some countries, all camera equipment, even a Polaroid or a little Fuji from Sam's Club. No, I mean, some countries are very careful about that. So it does not surprise me that the drone would not be allowed. And yes, you can manually take it in, but shipping is don't ever equate shipping with getting on the plane yourself and taking it. Totally different rules. Okay, if you're having trouble, Erin, with the hazard sign that comes up on PostalMate, contact our support team. I don't have a specific answer for you on that question because it's unique to your store. We are seeing some interesting things with that. It could be, I don't know. So again, we're working out that. Oops, more questions. Back to the special rates with RS. Is that $300 per month, every month, or averaged over 12 months?
So we're looking at the 3-month period. And if you have or want to request some more information on that, RS did send emails out, so you can reply to that and they'll be sure to give you more information there on how to obtain that or be added into the program.
Okay, super. All right, I think we've covered most of the questions. I'm sorry, let me get down to the bottom here. They're still, oh, nope, they're still popping up. I apologize.
I'm a hot ticket today.
You are a hot ticket, Riley.
Look at this.
Okay. I think some of these are rotating down and repeating itself, so I apologize for that. I'm actually quite sure it is. And country specific, just so you know, there are some countries that have some really strange requirements. Japan and Brazil tend to pop up as two places that we send to commonly, but they have some really unique requirements. China has problems receiving things to residences. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, anything's difficult in
Yeah.
China, but
And
yeah.
Russia has problems with repeat shipment. So a single shipment, but then a repeat shipment to that same address on a different day can be a real problem. So if you have, just know that.
Yeah, Russia requires mostly business to business is what they like to see. They don't really, it's complicated, but they don't really like when individuals are receiving a lot of packages. So I mean, we can always reach out to our customer service staff to help answer any questions when it gets to difficult countries. But we also want to educate you too. So if it's a reoccurring thing that you're shipping to Brazil, and you want to be an expert on Brazil, we are happy to make time and get you information so that you are a Brazil shipping expert.
Okay. So if we did not get to your question, we're coming up on the close of the hour. If we did not get to your question, and I'm sorry, the list has gotten so long, it's hard to sort through. I'll try to take a couple more, but you can always email them in to support@pcsynergy.com. And if we can't answer it in our support team, believe me, we're happy to email it over to Riley and let his team take care of it. So
yeah, I did see one on regular pickups. If you do have a regular pickup with us, you can disable the pickup function in PostalMate. So just double down on that.
If you have other arrangements with your driver or whatever, regular pickup, and you don't want to use PostalMate's pickup, that's fine. I have to tell you, because as a previous store owner, and I teach and I talk to you, I think I know a lot more than I do. I'm sure that's shocking to all of you, but I learned through this, a number of you, I mean, like a majority of you actually call in, or used to call in for a pickup. Instead of having a daily pickup, because I always had a daily pickup. So, it's okay, but it was surprising to me. So I'm learning new things too. So if the daily pickup in PostalMate is going to work for you, great. Bear with us while we get through the bumps, because I think in a few weeks, it's going to work really nicely. And if there's still issues, believe me, we will continue to work on them until it's working smooth, because we think this is a great feature, that you don't have to remember to call in before your cutoff time, because let's face it, the only time you get international is when you're busy doing everything else too, right?
When it rains, it pours,
All
right?
So let's see. Last thing I want to talk about are regional events that we travel to. And we have a great training team. There are 5 of us. 3 of us will usually attend any of these events, except for the RS Expo, which is in Dallas coming up in August. All 5 of us will be at those events.
I will be there as well.
Riley will be there as well. And Riley does try to attend as many events as he can, and we appreciate that. We love seeing him there. So as you can see, and I won't be at all the events, but I'm at most of the events. So we hope to have you, and our team is fantastic. I mean, the number of years altogether, I actually sat down one day of those 5 people and added up the number of years they've been in this industry together. And it was a really scary number, well over 100 years. So a lot of experience coming your way. And frankly, and I know I've said this before, but a lot of what we learn from you, not from our own experiences as store owners, but we actually learn from how you're operating your stores today. So we hope to see you at an event. We also want to thank Riley for joining us today. He's been a great sport and helping us to test out our new webinar studio. And we hope you like the new webinar studio and seeing our faces on occasion so that you can relate to us, because I don't get to visit with you in person. Many of you can't make it to regional events, and we miss that. So now you can see who's behind the mask. So.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and we're happy to help and answer questions. So don't hesitate to reach out to me or my team if you do need support.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We did record this, and we will post this on the website and/or email it to you. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.